So Maya, I'd like to give you a moment to acknowledge our funders and our sponsors, without whom we would not be running this program.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so grateful to be here today and see all of the amazing numbers rolling in and everyone that's on the call. Thank you so much. As Brian said, I'm one of the climate action coaches here at Transition Salt Spring, and I'm going to take a moment here to recognize our funders and sponsors for the Climate Action Coach program. So we're very grateful to receive funding from CRD, Salt Spring Island Foundation, Van City, and the Victoria Foundation. And we are also joined today by two of our very first sponsors of the program. We have a sponsorship program with a tree, branch, and leaf level. And we are joined today by Hannah Hall from Whirlwind Heating and Refrigeration, as well as Graham Outerbridge from Fresco Refrigeration. And I'm going to pass it over to Hannah Hall first to give us a quick introduction to her and her business, and then we'll go over to Graham. So Hannah.
Hello, my name's Hannah, and I am part owners with my husband Richard in Whirlwind Heating and Refrigeration. We also work side by side with Gulf Island Heating and Refrigeration, Mark Devereaux. We have sort of taken on the residential and install side of things, and Mark is focusing on the commercial side of things. We're really excited to be a part of this transition program, and everybody involved, we're very enthusiastic. We just kind of want to help everybody make, the right decisions for heat pumps in their home. And, we're just a family owned and operated business. Our younger brother Tanner is our apprentice, and, there's between both companies, there's about 55 plus years worth of experience in our office. So we can help you out with all number of things that might go on in your home, between heat pumps to ovens and fridges, you name it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. And we're also joined today by Graham from Fresco Refrigeration. Graham, would you like to introduce yourself?
Check mute.
Sorry about that. I'm Graham Outerbridge, owner of Fresco Refrigeration. I'm going to keep this short. I think we're all interested in hearing about Clean BC's programs. But first of all, thanks to Transition Salt Spring for involving us in this webinar. It's a pleasure to be a sponsor in this program. My wife and I started Fresco about 8 years ago with the goal to always give locals a high level of customer service, competitive rates, and professionalism. And that's often hard to find on an island. But between raising two girls, living through a pandemic and a heat dome, we've been going flat out. It's hard to maintain that same level of efficiency, but we've got a great crew with 5 technicians and 3 great administrators in the office. Everyone's been doing their best, and the community has been so great and positive throughout the hard times. We're factory trained Mitsubishi electric heat pump installers, and we consider Mitsubishi to be the premium choice for variable speed heat pumps. The reliability, the energy efficiencies, and the low decibel levels are just a few reasons why we stand behind their product.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Graham. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank
For
you.
anyone that is in chat, if you have any questions for either Hannah or Graham throughout the presentation, you're welcome to put them in chat. And at the end, hopefully we'll have some time to answer those questions. So let's go back to Brian, who's going to tell us a little bit more about the context of Salt Spring Island and the Southern Gulf Islands as it relates to heat pumps. Brian,
Yes.
over to you.
Thank you. In a long rambling way, I might add, which is my tendency, but just a little bit about where we came from. This climate action plan you see up on the screen here was a product of 18 months of very hard work, actually more if you include the preparation that went into forming our steering committee. 30 people with a variety of amazing backgrounds, and it resulted in a plan with 250 recommendations. Now, I know a lot of you aren't going to go out and read that plan, but just to say that this is where we get all of our guidance at Transition Salt Spring now in terms of everything we do now. So even this program has arisen out of recommendations in that plan. But very briefly, for those of you who may not have attended some of our webinars explaining what some of the risks are that we face, the biggest ones, no big surprise here probably, are the risks from fire and drought. Those are the biggest ones we face and the ones we need to do a lot about. In the coming months, you're going to be hearing about an exciting project that we'll be working on with North Salt Spring Water District, Salt Spring Fire Rescue, the Salt Spring Island Conservancy, the Watershed Preservation Society, with us, working in one of our critical watersheds. We won't tell you where yet, but it's going to mark the beginning of the ecological restoration part of the work that we're hoping to do on this island big time. All right, but first of all, we want to engage you. So maybe if we can, Maya, if you wouldn't mind, there we go, perfect. So we need to engage all of you first by starting where we live, and that will help us all take climate action together as we go on this journey. And, you know, when we start with homes, a question will arise at times, well, why start with homes? In terms of our emissions, they're actually not the biggest slice of pie in the whole emissions pie that we have on Salt Spring. However, we all share this in common. We all, you know, hopefully we're all blessed living under roofs, and it's a really good place to start, whether it's in our homes, outside our homes, or in the yards that we steward or land that we steward. No matter where we are, we can do things at home or on the land to live more lightly, to reduce our emissions, to increase energy efficiency, and make our homes and yards more climate change resilient to the changes that we all know are already underway. So some of us, we have EVs, electric vehicles, solar rooftops, avoid traveling by plane, and feel like we're already doing a lot. But there are lots of others of us who, you know, may not have done quite as much as that, but got quite a scare with the heat dome this summer. And, you know, the headlines of seeing a town that's been on the map for a very long time disappear right before our very eyes. So I think that, you know, really gave a lot of a wake-up call to a lot of people. And we were at the Fall Fair and we heard just that from, you know, in the 200 or so conversations we had at the Fall Fair, we heard that from a lot of people, that this summer really the penny dropped. So wherever you are in this journey, there's something you can do. So, and there's never really been a better time for it, because there are lots of big incentive programs from every level of government. You've got, on the federal government side, you've got the Greener Homes program, and then you've got the BC programs, which are funded through utilities and the government itself. And they provide rebates for everything from electric vehicles, solar panels, draft proofing, heat pumps, and more. So, you know, but when some of us look at these incentive programs or consider doing work around the home, we kind of become like deer in the headlights. Some of the rules are confusing, and technically, you know, if you don't have a Graham or a Hannah to lean on every day, it's kind of hard to know what to do in starting out that journey and making a big costly decision around your home. But that's where the Climate Action Coach program comes in to really help take you across that last mile with the resources we have and webinars like these, and also the Clean BC community energy coaches, which you'll hear about as a part of this webinar. We are all there to help you make the decisions that will help you become even more climate smart around your homes and around your properties. We're also, in addition to the programs that already exist and that we will be telling people about as the months roll out, we're trying to fill gaps too. So we're very proud to announce that with the CRD as a proud sponsor, we'll be launching a rainwater storage system rebate program starting around October 1st. So you can stay tuned for details about that. We'll be offering incentives of $250 or $500, depending on the size of the tank. And it's going to be a really good opportunity for anybody who participates in that program to give us feedback on how we could make that program better, because I want to take the list of that feedback back to the CRD and help us build a better mousetrap. So you can look forward to that. Also, touch wood, so to speak, we are hopefully, with luck, if our application is accepted, may be able to offer a wood stove upgrade incentive later on this year or early next to help make wood stoves on our island more efficient and dump less particulate into our atmosphere. But tonight, is a very quick introduction to the Climate Action Coach Program with the main focus on heat pumps. Over the fall and winter, we will have webinars on rainwater. That one's coming in probably October. Hopefully wood stoves, but also insulation, gap sealing, windows, doors, getting a home energy assessment, and more. But the big goal, if you remember one thing from everything I'm saying, the big goal tonight is to bring us all together to exercise our climate action muscles and help make us feel good about the positive changes that we're making in our communities across the Gulf Islands. And as we go on this journey, we look forward to celebrating some of the things that you do as part of your climate actions. Tonight, we're fortunate to have folks from Clean BC here to walk us through the heat pumps. But first, we want to know, well, first of all, we have to explain why we're so hot on heat pumps. First of all, if you're heating with oil, propane, or wood, it's a huge opportunity to reduce your emissions. If you're heating with baseboards primarily, it's certainly a big way to save money, but it's also a really good way to basically free up some of those electrons on the grid to go to other uses. And often with BC Hydro, that means selling them at a pretty high price to our benefit in British Columbia to California, for example, or leaving space on that grid so we don't have to build more expensive infrastructure to support rising demand. If we can keep our demand flat, it means we don't have to do terrible damaging things to the environment, with the exception of perhaps Site C, which may go ahead in spite of all that. So hydro is precious, so there's lots of things we can do to help reduce the juice. So, however, heat pumps can be expensive and they're not for everyone, which is why we hope we will get funding for to support a heat pump, a wood stove incentive program as well. But overall, we want to meet people where they are, whether you're heating with wood or heat pumps or electric. We want to engage you in how we can all do something to help our environment and address climate change, excuse me. But for those of you who had heat pumps this summer, you may also have discovered for the very first time added reasons why they're so great. They keep you cool. And anyways, but before we hand the mic over to Sam and her colleague at Clean BC, Erin Ann, let's ask folks how they heat their homes. We've got a survey coming up for you. Oh, I think I have to launch it actually. So for those of you not familiar with surveys on this platform, you should see a screen in front of you with an ability for you to select options of how you heat your home. And if you have a mix, you feel free and select whatever mix you have. I think we have it set for multiple choice, but feel free. Erin Ann, can folks see that now, do you think?
I hope so. I can't.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't see it yet, Brian.
Oh, you can't see it? Okay, let's see.
Maybe you need to at the bottom launch poll, red button launch.
Launch poll. Let's see here. Share results. All right, just a sec here. I will relaunch. Give me one moment. This is really great information for us because it really helps us to understand where you're at in
There it
terms
is.
of your energy. Awesome, great. So get your fingers going, folks. It's not exactly calisthenics, but it'll help. It's a way to engage folks in this discussion and help us to understand where you're at in this journey. So I see a few oil one so far. We've got, oh, interesting. Okay, we've got electric baseboards, a lot of electric baseboards on this island. I think we kind of knew that anecdotally. A lot, there's some others. Be interesting to hear in the chat what those others are. We don't have a box there for that. But electric baseboards, actually, wow, I'm shocked at how low the heat pumps are, which is why we're having this webinar tonight. Solar passive design, great. I'm glad we put solar thermal and solar passive design in there. That's great. Anyone who has a window that faces the sun, quite frankly, is doing a bit of solar thermal, although maybe not intentional. And I think one of you is on oil. So we got to help fix that. Because it's expensive, and that's what we did a few years ago in our home. So maybe I'll end the poll. It looks like we've got the majority of folks have participated, and I think I just end the poll and share the results, I believe. Yes, there we go. So what we see is a lot of us, wood stove, electric baseboards, with only 9 out of 94 on heat pumps. So I think, folks, Maya, we've targeted this audience right tonight. So that's really great. So thanks for playing along, folks. This really helps us to understand who's watching and how we can help you more. So I am going to exit the poll, stop sharing, and get back to regular program, which is to, I think, Maya, can you introduce our wonderful feature speakers, please?
Yes, I can. So we are joined today by two wonderful people from Clean BC. They are community energy coaches, Sam Wright and Elena Dopfer, and they're going to tell us all they know about heat pumps and how we can take advantage of the programs and rebates that are available to ensure that we can access them for a little bit less money. So over to you, Sam and Elena. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having us, Sam. I'll let you say the first few words.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say thank you everyone for having us here today. And what we're sharing today is going to be a brief overview of heat pumps as well as the rebate information that's available. And a handy note, so all of the rebates we'll be talking about are available as of today, September 28th. And as some of you might be familiar, the program is always changing. So it's important to be sure that you're checking in with the website, betterhomesbc.ca, for the most up-to-date information on rebates close to when you're planning your installation, so you have the right information. And yeah, Ellie, did you want to pop up the slides?
Sam, are you able to see my screen? Oh, is that the
presenter view?
Okay, hold on. 1 second. Good old technical things. Okay, can everyone see the presentation now? Great. I'm gonna switch my camera over to the other screen then so you guys can see me better. Okay, so yeah, Sam, did you want to start with the land acknowledgement real quick before I take over?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're here based in Victoria, so we of course would like to acknowledge with respect the Coast and Strait Salish and Wasanich peoples on whose traditional unceded territory we are presenting today, as well as Lekwungen, Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanich, whose historical relationships with this land continue with this day.
Awesome. Yeah, so then I would also take a quick second to introduce myself. My name is Elena. I also go by Ellie, and I would like to thank everyone from Transition Salt Spring for having us tonight. I was absolutely floored how many people are on this webinar today. That's amazing. I think that's the highest number of participants we've ever had, Sam and I. So that's really, really awesome that so many of you are interested about heat pumps. And yeah, thanks so much for having us. Today, as Sam mentioned, we are talking about heat pumps, how they are working, what type of heat pumps are most common in BC, and especially down here, Vancouver Island and the Gulf Islands, why we are so hot about heat pumps, as Brian said, why we get excited about them. We will be sharing tips about things to know to buy before, things to know before you buy a heat pump, things to know once you have bought a heat pump. And of course, we will be sharing information about rebates. Sam mentioned that the rebates are it's a lot of information and they're ever changing. So we will only have time to touch on the very basics of the rebates, but hopefully a lot of people will feel inspired to call the Clean BC Energy Coach service, which I will introduce to learn more about those rebates. And in the end, we will have time for a Q&A. I also saw that the heat pump contractors on the call are already busy answering questions in the chat box. So that's awesome too, because I'm sure there's a lot of very specific questions. Okay, let's get started. But before we talk about the heat pumps, there's something almost as important to talk about before even considering getting a heat pump, and that is the house as a system approach, because your home and every home is working as a whole system with multiple components, and when you change one of those components, it changes other components of the home. So for instance, if you want to get a heat pump, or to any new heating system, it is very, very important that you look at the building envelope of your home. So that is your exterior walls and your insulation levels, your windows and doors, and the air tightness of your home. Because if you get a heat pump installed before you address your insulation levels and all those things, then you could get the Cadillac of heat pumps installed, the most efficient model. But if your insulation levels are poor and you have a leaky home, you will just lose all that efficiently created heat right to the exterior. So that's something that some people don't consider. And also, if you do insulate the home first, make sure that you have good windows and it's nice and airtight, you can get a heat pump that has a lower capacity, that is size lower, as they say, and those heat pumps are often less costly. And also, on the other hand, if you address those building envelope issues after you get a heat pump installed, you may end up with a heat pump that's way oversized for your home, because all of the sudden you don't lose as much heat and your heat pump doesn't have to work as hard because now you've insulated your house. So that's something to get in, keep in mind. The perfect way to address this is to book an EnerGuide home evaluation before you get a heat pump installed or before you change anything in your home. I know EnerGuide home evaluations are in extremely high demand because there is a new federal program that we will talk about later. However, those evaluations are unbiased and very comprehensive based on an energy model of your home, which will help you make a much more informed decision about your home. Okay, but really, what is a heat pump and how does it work? I want to introduce the technology a little bit in pretty easy words. To summarize it, a heat pump is an electric heating system that can either heat or cool your home. And a heat pump is also the most energy efficient heating system you can possibly have in your home. It's about 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as the most high efficient gas furnace you can have, or 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as electric baseboards. Also in BC, as Brian has mentioned, we are very fortunate that almost 100% of our electricity comes from hydropower, which is considered carbon neutral. And that makes heat pumps and electric heating systems the most climate friendly way to heat a home. And we all tonight are here to learn about having a lower impact on climate change with our homes. So that makes a heat pump a really, really exciting system. And in fact, I know we did the poll and not many had a heat pump, but actually you all have some type of heat pump at home, because your refrigerator really is an insulated box that has a type of heat pump in it. In simple words, basically your refrigerator has those refrigerant lines, which gives it the name, and a compressor, and it absorbs heat energy from the inside of your fridge. And then the compressor basically pumps that heat energy in the refrigerant up to a higher temperature level and dumps it to the inside of your home, to the back of the fridge. And I know we all try to avoid looking at what's behind our fridges, but if you did, you would notice that there's warm air coming out. And really, that is what a heat pump does as well in cooling mode in your home. In the case that the home is the inside of the fridge. So what we have here is a type of heat pump that's commonly used in BC. It is called a central system heat pump. And what you see here is the outside of the home. Here's the inside of, oops, here's the inside of the home. And even on cold winter days, there is still heat energy left, even in cold air. And in this box here in the outdoor unit, there is a refrigerant line like here, and that refrigerant can absorb heat energy even at very low temperatures. And in this outside box, there is then the compressor that you also find in the fridge, for example. And that compressor pumps that heat energy up to a higher temperature level, which gives it the name heat pump, and transfers it to the inside of the home, where in this case, you have a big air handler that is connected to ductwork throughout the home, and then distributes hot air to the inside of your home. You can also simply reverse the cycle on a hot summer day. So let's say it's really hot and humid in here. In that case, the refrigerant will absorb the heat energy from the inside of your home, transfer it to the outside where the compressor heats it up further to then release it to the exterior of the home. So that's how a heat pump works in very simple words. Here you can see a little GIF, I guess, of how a heat pump would work. In this case, it's not a central system. It's a mini split ductless heat pump that is connected through those refrigerant lines and has an indoor head that's usually mounted on the top of the wall. So yeah, that actually brings me to the next point, the different heat pump types. There's many different types all over the world, but here are the two ones that we see most commonly installed here in southern British Columbia. So there's the central system. It's a central heating system, so it usually works with ductwork throughout the house, forced air, and that is of course great for homes that already have pre-existing ductwork. I know most of you are from Gulf Islands, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that most homes don't have a forced air heating system. Or there's at least a lot of homes that have electric baseboards. But in this case, you have this outdoor unit that either looks like this or like this here in the picture. And then you have an air handler like a furnace in your home. And then there is the ductless heat pump. So the ductless heat pump has many different names. It is sometimes called a mini split heat pump or a multi-split in the case where it has multiple heads installed. It's sometimes just called a split system. And then there's also even ducted mini splits. But really, it usually has a smaller outdoor unit than the central system. And then it connects through very thin refrigerant lines to the inside of your home. It doesn't require ductwork at all. And usually you have one or multiple heads mounted on the top of your wall, and you can control it with a remote control. And then there are versions where there's partially ducted systems. That really depends from home to home. Some people have mini ducts installed in their attic. Some just have indoor heads. Yeah, it really just depends on the layout and size and needs of your home. Okay, so to use Brian's words, why do we get so hot about the heat pumps? Here's some reasons. To summarize the reasons, it's because it provides year-round comfort. Brian congratulated all of you that you survived the heat dome this year. I feel the same. It provides heating and cooling. It gives you a much more climate-friendly home because heating with a heat pump is the most climate-friendly way you can possibly heat your home. It significantly reduces your carbon footprint if you're switching from a fossil fuel. And it is the most energy efficient heating system you can get. It also provides a healthier home because heat pumps do provide air filtration. And of course, since it is an electric heating system, you don't pay any carbon tax on your bills. So some people are kind of confused why heat pumps can be 300 to 400% efficient, just to touch on that real quick, the reason is because instead of, let's say, a gas furnace that burns gas to create heat from scratch, so to speak, or electric baseboards that turn 100% of the electricity that you pay for, that you use into heat energy, which is actually great. Electric baseboards do have an efficiency of 100%. However, heat pumps, they don't create heat from scratch, so to speak. They use heat that's already available in the ambient air, and they take that heat energy that's already there, like here, and just use a little bit of extra electricity to, for the compressor, add that electricity that you pay for to pump it up to a higher level. And that's what makes them so energy efficient. They don't have to create heat from scratch. They move heat from one place to another, and on the way, they pump it up to a higher level. I know most of you heat with electricity, and as I just mentioned, electric baseboards do heat with 100% efficiency. However, since heat pumps use significantly less electricity for the same output, you will likely see your hydro bills drop if you have a heat pump. So for electric heating, it's definitely the most cost-effective way to heat electrically, and much more climate friendly. So I know there is no natural gas on the Gulf Islands. However, I just wanted to show you how significantly less emissions there are if you heat with a heat pump compared to oil or natural gas. Though this is the same type of home that was modeled, a home in the Capital Regional District that was modeled with oil, gas heating, or a heat pump. And I don't know if you knew this, but heat pumps do provide air filtration, which is absolutely great, not only if you have any issues with allergies, dust and pollen, but also, really unfortunately, we see forest fires and just smoke every summer now. It just becomes a normal thing, but it really helps your home, rid your home of pollutants, dust, pollen, the smoke. And I also know that a lot of you do have wood heating, or maybe a combination of electric baseboards and wood heating. So there's, for example, this gentleman in Saanich, his name is Lorne, and he was totally relying on his wood stove for heating. And, he was sick and tired of hauling wood. So he got a heat pump, a mini split heat pump with an indoor head installed. You see it here in the background. And now he enjoys wood heating just for ambience whenever he feels like it. Okay, I hope that you are excited about heat pumps. I'm gonna take a quick sip. And I hope I have convinced you that that's a great idea. Here are a few tips to know before you buy a heat pump. First of all, we as energy coaches, we cannot emphasize enough to go through a qualified installer and avoid buying wholesale or online. Choosing a high quality contractor who provides extensive quotes and has great customer service is absolutely essential. Ideally, who is knowledgeable about the rebates out there, who is knowledgeable enough to make sure that you can get a heat pump that meets the requirements, is really, really worth doing the homework, worth getting multiple quotes from different installers to compare rates, to compare the types of heat pumps, the heating and cooling efficiency that they want to install. And then, of course, another best practice tip is to not forget about house as a system. Really, do you know what the insulation levels in your home are like? Do you find your home drafty? Maybe address those leaks first. Are your windows possibly single pane in some cases? Those are all things that you should really address before you get a heat pump installed. And of course, make sure that you and your contractor consider that the heat pump is properly sized for your home, designed for your climate, and include supplementary heating if that is necessary. Although, you know, on Vancouver Island and Salt Spring Gulf Islands, our winters are so mild that supplementary heating often isn't necessary for a heat pump. Okay, so once you have bought a heat pump, here are some tips and some things to consider that a lot of people don't know about heat pumps. First of all, the set it and forget it principle. So on the Energy Coach service, to get a little bit anecdotal, there are some people who report that their contractors didn't really teach them how to use their heat pump. And those people often didn't know that turning their heat pump off in the morning when they leave the house is not a good idea. They thought, oh, my heat pump is gonna operate much more efficiently if I turn it off when I leave the house and I turn it back on when I come back. And they are often unhappy with their heat pump because it takes so long to get to the temperature level. And that is one thing that heat pumps heat so efficiently, but they also heat so consistently. They take quite a while till they get up to their temperature level, but then they run super smoothly and just chug along basically. So a heat pump, heat pumps do run the most efficient if you just set the thermostat to your temperature level, to your preferred level, and then you forget about it. Don't fiddle around with the heat pump. You can obviously adjust it by a degree or two, but don't drastically turn it off and turn it back on because it does take a while. What you can also expect after installation, well, in your case, it's a little different because there's not many gas heated homes, not many of those furnaces that burn a fuel, but there's one person who has oil. So a lot of people who heat with gas or propane or oil, their furnaces, they kick on and then you experience these intermittent blasts of hot air that come out of the vents. With heat pumps, it's a little bit different. Obviously, they are also able to heat a home to 21, 22 degrees or whatever you set your thermostat to, just as much as any other furnace. However, because they don't burn a fuel and then blast hot air, the air that comes out of the vent often feels a little bit colder in comparison than those intermittent hot blasts of air. So if you have a hard time with the transition phase, you can maybe turn your thermostat down up by a degree or two. And you can, of course, expect changes to your hydro bill. So in the case where you heat with electricity, with electric baseboards on an electric furnace, and you get a heat pump, your heat pump operates much more efficiently, so you can likely see a decrease in your hydro bills. Then, of course, if you have a fossil fuel heating system like propane or oil, and you get a heat pump, then of course your hydro bills will increase. And of course, if you do use the electricity to cool your home in the summer and you didn't have a cooling system before, then you will also see changes in your hydro bill. Some people are pretty concerned about outdoor noise, and maybe the heat pump contractors can talk more about that if you have any specific questions in the chat. But the newer heat pumps are much, much quieter than older generations of heat pumps. Many municipalities do have bylaws in terms of decibel ratings, and heat pumps do come with decibel ratings. There is a really great kind of a pamphlet from the city of Vancouver where they debunk a bunch of myths about heat pumps and noise. And there's many great tricks of where to place a heat pump or rubber mats that you can put them on to reduce noise even further. Okay, so now we get to the exciting part about the webinar, the rebates. So before I dive into this, I just want to warn all of you. It's 7:45 now at night, and what you're going to see now is a lot of information. The great news is there's tons of rebates out there at the moment. The other side of the coin, I guess, is that that comes with a lot of information, a lot of eligibility requirements, a lot of different application steps, which can be quite overwhelming. But the good thing is, I do want to say, if you feel overwhelmed by all this information tonight, don't worry, I will introduce the Clean BC Energy Coach service, and that is a government-funded, unbiased information hub where you can call energy coaches or email, and they are able to tell you exactly everything about the heat pump rebates tailored to your situation that you need. But let's see. So that's the website, the Clean BC Better Homes website. So this is a government-funded information hub for all British Columbians to have a one-stop shop, an unbiased platform where you can learn about heat pumps, insulation, windows in an unbiased manner. And you can also find all the rebates in BC in terms of energy efficiency in one, on one page, basically. And that Clean BC Better Homes website, which by the way is betterhomesbc.ca, should have mentioned that, it's down here, betterhomesbc.ca, that does come with a free energy coach service. And I know Brian earlier said it's a 1-800 number, and I know what you were all thinking. When people mention 1-800 numbers, you immediately think, oh, okay, so I won't be helped. But that is absolutely not the case at the Energy Coach service. Our team of energy coaches is really super well educated about all the rebates out there. And they are really able to help you understand your situation, give you the gist of what you need to know at the stage you're at, the next steps, and they can even send you information by email as well. So you can call them really at any stage of your renovation process. So I highly recommend to take advantage of that program. On the Clean BC Better Homes website, there is a rebate search tool where you can select that you're renovating your home. You can enter where you're located. We do have Salt Spring Island on there. If you're on a different Gulf Island, we recommend that you just enter Salt Spring, or you can also enter Capital Regional District. And then you just have to indicate how your home is heated, and you get a list of rebates that are available. And you can even filter by insulation or heat pump or windows. And then when you can click on one of those rebates and you get a summary page with all the application steps and requirements, everything you need to know. And I will now talk, actually I'm going to backtrack one step. I'm going to talk about two main programs, because at the moment there's two really big programs in the market. One is a provincial one and one is a federal one. I will talk about the provincial one first, and then the federal one. They are two absolutely separate programs that have nothing to do with each other. They have different sets of eligibility requirements and application steps. So since we are a provincial program, we can speak a lot to the provincial rebates, and I will give you the basics about the federal program. So first, we will talk about the Clean BC Better Homes rebate program. And here's some general eligibility requirements, and that is that you have to live in an eligible home, which on the Gulf Islands is mainly the case. It has to be a single family home or side-by-side row home, a mobile home on a permanent foundation. You just can't live in a big condo building or a multi-unit residential building. Also, the rebate amount is dependent on the type of heating system you have currently. And the heat pump has to become the primary heating system of your home. So you can't get rebates if you're just installing a heat pump for air conditioning. The rebates can also not exceed the cost of the upgrade. So you can't make money on with the rebates. And not every heat pump qualifies. So that is something that some people assume, that whatever heat pump they install will qualify, but it has to meet certain energy efficiency requirements and has to be on a qualifying product list. Oh yeah, so when I go further now, I will show you the different rebate amounts that are currently out there for the provincial Clean BC program. Again, there will be a lot of information about heating and cooling efficiency. I'm not going to go into detail, but you find all that on the Clean BC Better Homes website. And of course, you can ask energy coaches about it. So first and foremost, most of you guys indicated that you heat with electricity. So there are some really great rebates for switching from electric heating to a heat pump. We got $1,000 if you switch to a mini split or a multi-head mini split, so with multiple heads. That's $1,000. Or if you switch to a central system with ductwork throughout the home, it's $2,000. One really important thing to note here, and that is important, especially for those of you who have wood and electric heating, is that if you are an electrically heated home, the rebate would come from BC Hydro. So BC Hydro only pays out rebates to homes that have a high enough electricity consumption to be considered electrically heated. You can easily check if you meet that requirement on BC Hydro's website. Here is the link, bchydro.com/hero/eligibility. Basically, you have to enter your BC Hydro account number and your home's square footage. And then the tool tells you right away whether BC Hydro considers you to be an electrically heated home or not. So if you are not, if you fail the tool, then you're not considered an electrically heated home. That can happen even if you have electric baseboards throughout the whole house, but you only use your wood stove. It can very well happen that you fail the tool and then you are not considered electrically heated. What do you do in that case? Well, it's actually kind of simple, because then in the case that you have wood heating, wood would be considered your primary heating system by default. The rebates are actually the exact same, same amounts, same requirements. So you might wonder, well, why does it matter then? Well, it's kind of one of these things where it matters where the money comes from. Because when you later on apply for the rebate and you failed that tool, so you're technically wood heated, but you indicate that you're electrically heated, the rebate application will be sent to BC Hydro. They will use the tool, they will see that you fail it, and then they will just reject you. So do the tool first, and if you fail it, indicate that you're wood heated and it goes to the right place and the money will come from the government of BC. In the case where you don't have any wood in the house and you only heat with electricity, you have nothing else, you fail the tool, you would not be eligible for any heat pump rebates through the provincial program in that case. Okay, so this tool is important in case someone has electric heating systems at home. So I know this is not so much the case for most here on this webinar. So just real quick, for the folks who convert from oil, natural gas, or propane, the rebates are higher because you significantly reduce your carbon footprint. So for mini split heat pumps, it's $6,000. For a central system heat pump that's all electric, it's $6,000 currently. And then if you have a dual fuel heat pump that uses fossil fuel as a backup, it's $3,000. There are also some heat pumps that are a little less commonly installed. I assume not so commonly installed on Gulf Islands. Air-to-water heat pumps, they work the exact same way. Instead of heating air for forced air, you heat water, usually for in-floor heating. That is only available for switching from a fossil fuel, and the rebate is $3,000. And if it's a combined space and hot water heating heat pump, it's $4,000. So for those who have a fossil fuel and switch to a electric heating system, they might have to get their electric service upgraded. And if that's the case, there is also a bundle rebate where you can get $500 for that service upgrade. That's this one that I'm talking about. Yeah, so that might be necessary if you're switching from oil, for example. And so that was the rebates, and the rebates work so you get the heat pump installed first and then you apply. But some folks really are interested in low interest financing. I want to say right away, this is not applicable for a lot of you here on the webinar because it's only available for folks who switch from gas, propane, or oil. But there is the option, instead of getting a rebate, you can get 0% financing. And you can get financing instead of paying full price and then getting a rebate. And you have to work with a special contractor, a finance registered contractor, but you can get loans of between $1,000 and $40,000. And of course, you can either do the financing or get the rebate, but not both. And then here's something that Brian was talking about earlier. There's a really great program out there at the moment. It's called the Group Purchase Rebate. And the Group Purchase Rebate is really just an extra bonus on top if multiple people get together and register as a group or join a group, and they say, we all install a heat pump around the same time. We're getting together, getting the word out. And then depending on the group size, everyone who installs a heat pump gets the rebate, gets an extra chunk of money on top. The important thing to note, at the moment, this group purchase rebate is also only available for those switching from oil, natural gas, or propane. So at the moment, it's not available for those switching from wood or an electric heating system. Okay, that was really the heat pump rebate super speedy here. Like I said, you find so much more information on betterhomesbc.ca and of course through the Energy Coach service. But it all really starts with finding a contractor. And you can actually find contractors on the Better Homes website. You do not have to work with the contractor from this page. Why are they listed on here on betterhomesbc.ca/PRC, which stands for Program Registered Contractor? They're only listed because they went through additional rebate program training with the provincial rebate program. So the people who are listed there, they have heard about the rebates. They are aware of the requirements, the heat pump requirements, and the application steps. So that's usually a really good place to get started. And yeah, it's betterhomesbc.ca/PRC. You can also filter for Salt Spring, and you don't have to work with a contractor from this search tool. It's just a good way to start. And then in terms of the finance program, which again, only applicable for fuel switching from a fossil fuel, in that case, if you want the financing, you have to work with a finance registered contractor because they set you up for the loan. And that is a different search tool. It's betterhomesbc.ca/FRC for finance registered contractor. Okay, we've talked about provincial rebates, we've talked about contractors. And now it's time to talk about the second big rebate program. The second big rebate program only launched in May this year, and it is a federal program, so Canada-wide. It's called Canada Greener Homes Program. You may have heard of it, and they, among many other things, they do offer heat pump rebates. So it launched on May 27th. Through this grant program, you can get up to $5,000 for all kinds of different upgrades, but that's the cap. And also an EnerGuide home evaluation is required in this case, but the program gives you $600 after completing the first and the second one. I do want to say something about the requirement of having the EnerGuide home evaluation. The provincial program doesn't require that at all. It is recommended, of course, because of House as a system, but you don't have to. For Canada Greener Homes, you have to get a pre-retrofit Energet home evaluation before you get the heat pump or any other upgrade installed. Then you get the heat pump installed, and then you get a post-retrofit Energet home evaluation, and then you apply for everything at the end. The big difference between Canada Greener Homes and the Clean BC rebates is that Canada Greener Homes currently doesn't have any deadline at all, not to apply, not to get the heat pump installed. And for the provincial Clean BC rebates, you don't need an evaluation, but once you have the heat pump installed and you get your invoice from your contractor, you only have 6 months to apply. That's very important. For all provincial rebates, you only ever have 6 months to apply. I also want to say about Canada Greener Homes that we are aware that Energet home evaluations are in extreme high demand, and that especially remote areas and Gulf Islands have a hard time getting energy advisors out to come to their homes. So Canada Greener Homes has gotten much feedback about that, and it is just a requirement for this program. Also, the home has to be a primary residence of the homeowner. So if you're the homeowner, you can only participate if you live in your own home. And the good thing is you can get both the Canada Greener Homes grants and the Clean BC rebates, but again, you can't make money, so only for up to 100% of your heat pump cost. Since it is a federal program and we're a provincial service, we don't have all the details about this program, and it's very much still evolving. So we do highly recommend for specific questions about your eligibility or about your heat pump eligibility, to either talk to your energy advisor or contact the program either by phone or through the longest email address that you've seen in your life. That is one email address. And it is also possible to participate in the Canada Greener Homes Grant Program if you have had an evaluation before the program launched. There's some more information on their website about that as well. Where to get started? We got a lot of information in tonight. If you're looking for to access all rebates possible for heat pumps, then it's a really good idea to start with an Energet home evaluation, although we do acknowledge that currently it is hard to get an advisor out. So at the very least, you can access the provincial ones, but you can find energy advisors in your area on our website, betterhomesbc.ca/EA. That stands for Energy Advisor, and you can again search by Salt Spring Island or Capital Regional District or Sydney, and then if you wanted to get the Canada Greener Homes Grant, you have to register through their online portal to get the process started. Both provincial and federal program have their own set of program requirements, so be sure to review all of them. That can be super overwhelming. Even though the energy coaches cannot speak to the federal grant as much, they can definitely tell you about the next steps. And of course, in terms of the provincial program, please never hesitate to call or email one of the coaches if you get confused or stuck along the way. All Clean BC rebates have a 6 months deadline to apply from the invoice date or evaluation date for an evaluation rebate. It is best practice to apply as you go and not wait till the very end. And the Canada Greener Homes grants are applied for at the very end after doing the second evaluation, and they currently don't have any deadlines. For the provincial rebates, even though you don't require an Energet home evaluation, if you get a pre-one, then you have 18 months to complete the post-retrofit one, so that's 1.5 years. So it's best practice to just get all your renovations done within 1.5 years and then get your post-retrofit evaluation. And don't forget to review the heat pump requirements. Hopefully your contractor is aware of the rebates that are out there, can help you, can look up the heat pumps on both eligible model lists. And it is definitely worth it to confirm that your heat pump qualifies before you get it installed, because there's so much money out there right now. You really don't want to miss out on that because you didn't check that out beforehand. Okay, so if you have any questions, then please contact a Clean BC Energy Coach service. Again, a great, really well-educated team. And we really know our stuff about the rebates. It's a toll-free hotline, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. It's 1-844-881-9790. And you can also email them at ask@betterhomesbc.ca. Below, there's also the admin information from BC Hydro and Fortis. So they administer the rebate program on a provincial level. And now it's time for your questions, but I'm going to leave this slide open so in case you want to jot down any phone numbers. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun to talk about heat pumps. I hope you feel inspired. I see 77 questions in the chat, or at least messages. Thanks for taking the time. And yeah, Sam, are there any questions?
So just so you know, Elena, you have 2 hours to answer all the 77 questions. Just kidding. We actually were very busy typing while you were talking, and the questions came in fast and furious. 77 questions is awesome, and they're still continuing to roll in. So that's great. So with the help of Maya and Sam also, maybe we get Sam on the spotlight too. We can just see what other questions there are. I know we're getting close to end time. But we want to make sure we answer everyone's questions. A lot of the questions were, there was noise featured prominently around it. I don't know, did you talk much about cost at any point, Elena or Sam? They do vary widely. I mean, if it can be as low as a few thousand all the way up to, well, there we go. And it can be, you know, tens of thousands if you have a very large home. So it really depends on the situation you've got in your house. More than a wood stove for sure, which is why we want to try and make sure that hopefully we'll get some funding to do a wood stove incentive program to basically address energy poverty, which is a real thing here on this island for sure. And to make sure these programs are accessible to various people in various situations.
Brian, sorry, I wasn't able to unmute myself for a second. Very good point with the cost. It is also a very disappointing answer, and I wonder if the heat pump contractors can agree with me on that. We find that it's a very hard question to answer because the cost truly highly depends from home to home. Every home is so unique in its layout and its size and its occupants' needs. And we have had some data from a past rebate program. It was called the Oil to Heat Pump program, about cost for heat pump installations. And the cost for heat pumps, they were ranging. It was insane. So we saw heat pumps that were as low as $3,000, and then there were heat pumps that were well over $20,000. So now, of course, that's for homes that are sized differently, homes that have a very complicated layout. I don't know, Graham and Hannah, I think it is, can talk about that. But yeah, the cost for heat pumps really highly depend, and that's why we always recommend to just get multiple quotes to get a good idea. Yeah, I don't know if the contractors wanted to chime in for that as well. Oh, I guess nobody can unmute themselves.
No, Graham's good. Graham's good to go. Go for it, Graham.
Yeah, it really does range depending on the size of the house, the type of system that you're going to install. You know, like a ductless system can start as low as about $3,000 and get up, you know, in a complex installation, get up around $15,000. More so when you get into a central ducted system. So it really depends on the size of the home and the area you're trying to heat and cool.
Yeah, so sometimes it's it's too bad to give such a disappointing answer for some people, but it just truly does depend.
I see another question in the chat here from Sabine. Is it possible or advisable to start off with a mini split that has one head and then add additional heads later?
Yeah, so typically you'll either go with a single zone or a multi-zone starting with 2 units and adding on from there. So it just depends. If you want to, for future consideration, you'll just need to size the outdoor unit a little bit larger to allow for more indoor units in the future. It's possible, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
We had that in our house where we had an option to actually add another one, and just because of the way we use the house, we decided we don't need it. So it's a nice flexible system that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the questions are winding down, but that doesn't mean you can't continue asking them. We got the number, the toll-free number is up there for on the chat, 1-844-881-9790. And don't forget, we will be sending you the chat and the video of this entire thing if you want to share it with your friends and neighbors. But maybe we'll kind of head us into our thank yous and goodbyes. Maya, what do you think?
Sure, yeah. We can definitely do that. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Oh, I cannot share my screen. Erin, and if I could have screen sharing capabilities, that would be good. Awesome, there it is. All right, so I just wanted to take another moment here to thank all of our sponsors and funders again today. Thank you so much to Hannah and Graham for joining us. And thank you, huge shout out to Sam and Ellie for doing the presentation with us. That's awesome. I think everyone learned a ton. And I also wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you to our monthly donors. We've got a growing, wonderful community of monthly donors here at Transition Salt Spring, and you guys really make what we do on a day-to-day basis possible. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I wanted to just wrap up by saying thank you again for attending this very first Climate Action Coach webinar. This is the first one, and we're going to have many more. The next one will come out probably late October, early November for the rainwater rebate and rainwater catchment program that's launching as of October 1st. So stay tuned for more information on that webinar. You can always become a member or sign up to our newsletter for more information on that. And if you need to reach out to a climate action coach, either myself or Rob, for some localized information, and if things are just a little bit confusing, we do have our email here up on the screen if you need to. And you can always check out more information on our website, www.transitionsaltspring.com. So thank you again so much, everyone, for attending, and we will see you again soon.
Yes, and Sabina, just to let you know and everyone know, we will, if you sign up for a newsletter, that's a guaranteed way for you to find out about all of our upcoming webinars. We publicize this one in the Salt Spring Exchange and on Facebook. So if you use those vehicles, you'll find out there too. But a really surefire way is to make sure you become a member of Transition by signing up for a newsletter. Thank you so much for being here, and wish you all a good green night.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.